What's up everyone, and welcome back to Reload Reacts. My name is Trey, and today we are going to look through r/MaliciousCompliance, the subreddit for those who are technically following all of their given directions, but not the spirit of what they actually mean. This post is by BoyInBlack13x. Ex-husband ghosts ex-wife, racks up a huge bill. He clearly didn't think things through. My compliance was malicious for the ex-husband. I'm working in the billing queue for a call center for one of those big 3 telcos, and a client calls in regarding a billing concern. The lady calls in, is puzzled why she got charged a one-time fee of $49 for a wireless access point. It's Gen 1 equipment for wireless set-top boxes for optic TV. She's even more puzzled. Why would she have that charge when she doesn't have TV services from us? And I informed she does. It started more or less a month ago. She's disputing that because optic TV isn't available in her area. Now I'm confused. She lives in a small town and there's no optic TV there. I do a little digging and find out that someone, no ex-husband, was still in her account and got a 3-year contract to get free TV for optic TV and internet. She begins to cry on the phone and tells me her now ex-husband had an affair with a younger woman, divorced her, milked her for as much as he could, and apparently is still milking her for more. He totally ghosted her, moved to Alberta, changed his email, phone number, blocked her on all social media, etc. In my mind, I'm like, wow, what a D-head. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, if you cancel the services, you're on a hook to pay for cancellation fees and so on. I can tell her though, I can remove his access to your account, and you can also add a password, downgrade the internet and TV to the bare essentials, and I can attempt to redirect the TV gift from his address to hers, but there's no guarantee as it's already been processed. I can hear the light going off in her head. Wait, what? You have where he's living at now? Why yes, he's got TV and internet services there, so there's a service address. She goes really quiet, says her lawyer and herself have been trying to track him down, but his friends and family are being tight-lipped about it. She asks if I'm allowed to give her that info. I smile and reply, this is your account. You have unrestricted access for your service address, phone numbers, emails that now your ex-husband provided to us to get hooked up. She asks that I can give her his new address, his new cell number, and the second number left on the account, presumably the new woman, and contact info over the phone right now. I asked if she had a pen and paper handy. She was so ecstatic. And after giving her all the details from the account regarding the second service address, downgrade everything, and he was a hockey fan, and there was a game playing right now with his team. So I really wish I could have been a fly on the wall when the game cuts out, and he calls in to ask WTF, and he discovered he's been removed, and there's an account pin, and he's discovered by the ex-wife and the lawyer. Wow. That one was crazy, and just for the low price of $49, I'm so happy for her. The next post here is by Curious About Now. My boss loves to call me at 6:15 AM to ask me if I would like to fill the shifts of people who just called in sick. This is an everyday thing. I was bored and frustrated, so I decided to volunteer at 3:30 AM to call this same manager to ask if they needed extra help. He got super peed and tried to write me up for it. I showed the GM the timestamps of the calls I had received. I don't get calls anymore. Short but sweet. This next post is by a deleted user. Apartment manager doesn't take cash for 2-cent bill. Malicious compliance ensues. In 2019, I moved from an apartment complex in Celebration, Florida to a condo. As usual, when you move out of an apartment, you get a final bill, which includes your last month's prorated rent, deductions for damages, security deposit refunds, and the like. We paid it. The next month, I get a call from my wife, who says we've got a follow-up bill in the mail from the apartment management company for 2 cents. We're both in the tech field, so we laughed that this company's IT department didn't catch the edge case of spending 50 cents in postage to collect 2 cents in revenue. But it happens. My wife prints out a copy of the bill, I grab 2 cents from the change jar. The apartment complex is on my daily drive, so I swing by the office. I walk in and tell the manager that I want to pay my last bill. I say, it's 2 cents, here's the bill, and I have the 2 cents if you want it. The manager says, we don't take cash, nothing else. There was an awkward pause. I say, I don't expect you to take cash. I expect us to both have a laugh about how silly computer systems are, and for you to write off the 2 cents because it'd cost you more to process the payment. She says, I'm not going to do that. Again, another awkward pause. Interesting. I say, so do you want me to write a check for 2 cents and mail it? And you're going to process that check? The manager says, yes, send us a check and we'll process it. And then walks back into her office to end the conversation. So I go home and set up an automatic monthly bank payment to my apartment complex for 3 cents. And then, because I'm a programmer, I write some code to send a letter once per month saying, I'm so sorry, I've overpaid my bill. Please send me a check for the overpayment. And I use an online service that sends postcards in ridiculous sizes, up to 18 inch by 24 inch, figuring that'll be my escalation strategy. The first of the next month, I get a call from the apartment company's regional manager. After introducing himself, the next 2 minutes were the most sincere, oh god, we made a mistake, please don't do this, we'll never contact you again, apology anyone could have hoped for. I stopped the email and never heard from him again. Did I spend several hours on malicious compliance for 2 cents? Yes. Was it worth it? Absolutely. This deleted user knows what they're talking about. If an apartment complex is sending out a thing in the mail for 2 cents, it costs more to send it than to just write off the 2 cents. That's wild. Why even do that? That's ridiculous. And then to have the audacity to then go to that person and say, no, we don't accept cash. You have to pay it online. We're not gonna take that. And also, we're not gonna write off the 2 cents because we're really greedy and we don't understand that it actually costs us more money. This next post is by Federal Ant 9. Ex's divorce lawyer. Send 3 years of complete financials or else. Me, as you wish. This happened several years ago when my ex and I were going through a heated divorce/custody battle. While we were married, we had a couple of conversations about how rich people hide their assets to avoid paying taxes. I've never had enough assets to do this, but she somehow got the idea that I was, and told her attorney that I was laundering money and hiding income. It was more likely the heat of the moment, as divorce/custody battles often come down to. I couldn't afford my own attorney, so I just represented myself. Her lawyer wasn't a total A, but he clearly was out to get me, and he talked down to me like I didn't deserve to breathe the same air. One day, I get a letter in the mail from him requesting an updated income declarations form and 3 years of financials. It included a long A list of things to include. I own a communications tech company that was in startup phase back then. Money was already tight. I was trying to get this business off the ground with no financing. I was finishing my MBA with scholarships and loans, so paying off copies and postage or driving this 30 miles to his office meant eating peanut butter and saltines for a week. So I called him to explain my situation. He all but called me a liar and didn't believe I couldn't afford it. I was put off by that, and I said this was taking time away from business I needed to handle, to which he replied, and I'll never forget this, well, according to your income declarations, you're not that busy. What do you do all day? He then said if I didn't get these documents, he would consider my previous filings as fraudulent, tell the judge, contact the DA, and also alert the state tax agency and IRS. Probably an empty threat, but I'm no lawyer. eFax is one of the services my company provides, and at this time it was relatively unknown, so I asked him if he has a fax machine. He said he had a fax/scanner/copy device, then said what law office doesn't have a fax machine, and I suddenly got an idea. Okay, I said to him, I'll put together and fax whatever I can. Okay, MF, you want 3 years of financials? You got it. I scanned to PDF every receipt I could find. McDonald's receipt from 5 years ago? F it, won't hurt to include it. CVS receipt? It's 3 miles long. Perfect. They get $1 off the toothpaste coupons too. I downloaded every bank statement, credit card statement, purchase orders from vendors, and every invoice I sent to clients. I printed to PDF the entire 3-year accounting journal, monthly/quarterly/annual balance sheets, cash flow statements, P&Ls. Not only did I PDF 3 years of tax filings, but every single letter I received from the IRS and state tax agency, including the inserts advising me of my rights, it took a while, but I was a few days ahead of the deadline. I made a cover page, black background with white lettering. Wherever I could, I included separator pages in all caps in the biggest, boldest font that would fit on the page in landscape. 20xx receipts, 20xx taxes, etc. I merged everything into a single 150 plus page compressed PDF and sent the document using my eFax system. Every hour or so, I received a status email saying the fax failed. Huh, that's weird. Well, they're getting this document. So I changed the system configuration to unlimited retries after failures to keep redialing it until it went through. Weird, I was still getting status email failures. I'll delete the fail emails and keep the success one after it finally goes through, I thought. Problem solved. 2 days later, a lady from his office called and asked me to stop sending the fax. Their fax/scanner/printer/copier had been printing non-stop. It kept getting paper jams, kept running out of ink, and they kept having to shut it off and back on to print. I explained that her boss told me to send this by the deadline or else he would call the DA and IRS. Since I didn't want to call from the DA or IRS, I would keep sending until I got a success confirmation. I suggested they just not print until my fax completes, but she didn't like that. She asked me to email the documents, and I told a little white lie that my email wouldn't allow an attachment that big. Unless her boss agreed to cancel the request or agree to reimburse me for my cost to print and ship, I said I would continue to fax until they confirmed they have received every page. She put me on hold, and the attorney gets on the line. He said forget about sending the financials. I said that I would need this in writing, so I would keep sending the fax until he sent it to me. He asked me to stop faxing and he would send it in writing, and I said send it in writing first and then I'll stop. Long moment of silence. Click. About 20 minutes later, I received an email from his assistant with an attached signed letter in PDF that I no longer needed to provide financials. The letter then threatened to pursue sanctions in court or sue me for interfering with their business. Every time I saw him after that, the lawyer never brought up sanctions, lawsuits, criminal referrals, or financials again. It sounds like they actually enjoyed putting it all together and sending it. That's actually pretty funny. I think they deserve that for being a bit of an A, you know? This next post is by Stuff, Things, and Stuff. Security made us show the last 5 photos on our phone. My co-worker, an absolute hero, maliciously complied at security on one of our subcontractor jobs. The customer was a manufacturer for high-end electronic components. Security was tight as a small 4" by 6" box could contain $250,000 worth of microchips. Our team was installing equipment in their facility for 1 week. A security checkpoint had to be passed every trip in or out of the building. Mr. Security Guard, Chad maybe, decided my co-worker, Steve probably, was more suspicious than the other 4 techs. So every trip in or out, not only was Steve made to dump his entire contents of his backpack out on the table and go through it, Chad required Steve to show him the last 5 pictures taken on his phone to prove he wasn't stealing secrets. This is all fine, except Chad lets everyone else through without any sort of inspection. Steve is trying to stay positive, but obviously this is eating away at him. Steve tries to be overtly positive and also a bit snarky with comments like, "Thank you, Paul Blart, for keeping America safe," which busts up the rest of our crew. Then, Steve has the idea that we'll free him for the rest of the week. Wednesday comes along. Steve is overly scrutinized on our way in as usual. As we head into security at lunch, Steve says he has to go to the bathroom. He comes back out a few minutes later, absolutely giddy. Chad Blart, Mall Cop, stops us on our way out and asks Steve to see his camera roll. Steve gladly hands the phone over. Chad is greeted by some very peculiarly angled shots of Steve's beehole. What the F? Chad throws the phone down on the table. "Oh, sorry. I thought I had a hemorrhoid and wanted to see how bad it was. Is everything okay with my pictures? Is the facility safe?" Chad never checked Steve's materials again. Good on you, Steve. This next post is by Sawkoth1. HR tried to get rid of my dad right before he was able to get his pension. My father worked as a Forbes 500 company since the 70s, moved up the ranks as a software engineer and management, has patents for the company that saved up millions of dollars. He's almost to pension age and suddenly HR starts making his life miserable. He noticed this trend was happening to some of his co-workers when they were getting close to age 60 as well. HR lady calls him into the office and says that he was not punching in and out at the correct time. My father, an engineer, is very detail orientated. He said that these were false accusations and asked HR to prove it. They came back a week later and couldn't prove it. And he said, "Of course you can't. I've been driving the corporate carpool bus from a major city 40 miles away from the company for the last 15 years. I always have 16 witnesses on my clock in time, and I haven't been late in 15 years. HR lady came back a week later, and they said that they were going to fire him for letting people into the building without badging. He asked to see when and where he was letting someone into the building without badging. They showed that he held the door for his best friend, who had also been working there since the 70s, who had his foot cut off after having type 2 diabetes. He was in a wheelchair. Prior to this, my dad took the chief of security out for lunch and told him about how this company wanted him to leave before he got his pension, so he got some footage of his own. My dad said, "That is very interesting. You're going to fire me for holding the door for my best friend of 35 years after his foot was amputated and he was in a wheelchair? Fine then, I hope you fire the CEO and yourself as well." He then proceeded to show footage of the HR lady holding the door for his friend and the CEO holding the door for his friend. My father ended up staying there until he got his pension. Final update. Dad quit his job a while ago and made his own company in his retirement. He had used his own money to patent a new invention that desalinates seawater and provides clean solar energy. He has patents for this in America, India, and China, and is looking for some capital to provide clean water and power to third world countries. If interested in helping him build his first power plant, please send me a message. That's so cool. I like how the guy got a happy story in the end. I like how he got to stay until his pension. That's ridiculous that they were trying to fire him for a guy that was in a wheelchair though. Like, what? What is that? And that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the stories in r/MaliciousCompliance. Let me know what you want to hear next in the comments below. My name is Trey, this was Relentlessly Reacts, and I will see you in the next video.